strain of black intellectuals to corporate America. We must bring the black intellectuals home to the masses, and we must bring the masses home to the black intellectuals. We must perform this marriage that each must find common cause to rejoice in one another. And that's why I'm dressed in white today. I'm in my wedding garment. I came to perform a marriage today, to put the red and the black together. Yes, to link up Africa, the Caribbean, and black America, to link up the masses with the classes. It's a marriage feast today, if you would but just understand. Now, bear with me. The black intellectual is the black man's living Statue of Liberty. Can I say that again? The black intellectual is the black man's living Statue of Liberty. However, the inscription on the Statue of Liberty that sits in New York Harbor must become the cry of the black intellectual and the black middle class. The black intellectual and the black middle class must say to Reagan, must say to America, give us our tired, our poor. Give us the wretched refuse of your teeming shores, the huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed, to us, for we lift our lamp beside the golden door. But like the Statue of Liberty that sits in New York Harbor, our black intellectuals, our living Statue of Liberty needs some renovation. Our black intellectuals need a little renovation work. Somebody's got to build a scaffold because they're getting a little shaky. Hold them up. Maybe their crown is getting a little weak and about to fall off. Maybe they're tired holding the light for themselves. And you're always going to get tired if you hold the light only for yourself. You need renovation. In fact, you need a new light to enable you and our people to see their way to liberation. And you need strengthening of your outstretched hand that you may hold up the torch of black liberation, that we may use our knowledge to create the opportunity for the masses of our people to come to economic birth and empowerment. What program will connect our intellectuals and our black middle class to the suffering masses? Show me that neck up on that screen, please. What program will relieve the frown of the head and the frown of the body? We say to the world that we have that force and that program in this concept called power. The acronym POWER stands for people organized and working for economic rebirth. That's the neck. We got a program now that will connect the head to the body. This concept that we call power will enable us to become producers of what we consume. For it is only through our becoming producers that we will earn the respect of self and the respect of others. It is foolish for us to say to white people that they must respect us when we are not doing that which commands respect. Listen now, please. I know that Caucasian people will respect you. They have the power and the capacity to respect you. I know that Asians and other peoples of the world have the capacity to respect us. But the burden is on us. This producing of respect in others for us begins with self-respect. And it is an act of self-respect to begin to produce our own needs. the largest black business entity, Johnson Publishing Company, grossed $118 million last year, and Johnson Publishing Company hires approximately 1,500 people. Johnson Products, right here in Chicago, hires approximately 500 people, and Johnson Products gross approximately 45 million people. Soft Sheen, M&M Products, and Proline hired approximately 2,000 people. Their gross was approximately $120 million. If these companies represent the top producers among our people, and together they only produce as an aggregate from 5,000 to 7,000 jobs, then what does this tell us about our level of productivity? You and I are 30 to 40 million people in America. We cannot ask the world to respect us if we are not productive. Africa, the world will not respect you if you are non-productive. Indians, the world will not respect you if you are non-productive. You just cannot say that the land is mine and do nothing with it. Don't you know if you got a woman and you won't do anything with her, somebody else will? And don't you know if you've got land and won't use your land, somebody else will use it for you? I'm sorry, the knife of justice cuts on both sides. You can't just walk on the land and say the land is mine. You must develop the land. Make the land sustain you and your children. Then you got something to argue about. Black people have been the mammies of this society. Do you know what I mean when I say mammies? In case you don't, during slavery, our black mothers would put the child of her white slave master on her black breast, and her milk would nourish the little white child to strength. And oftentimes this little white child, nourished to strength from milk coming from a black woman and her breast, would turn on its mammy and disrespect her. We are a community that have nursed and continue to nurse other people to economic strength in America. The Jewish merchants who immigrated to America at the turn of the century were disrespected. However, they looked at you and me and saw that we were not providing goods and services for ourselves, so they came into our community providing goods and services for us. So the strength of our purchasing power went to many Jewish merchants who built themselves and their communities up on the strength of our purchasing power. And now this tiny Jewish community of only 6 million in number has an inordinate degree of political power because they learned to maximize their economic strength. And when the rebellions broke out in 64, 65, and 66, many of the Jews moved out of the black community. The Palestinians who were left homeless in the establishment of the state of Israel, along with Lebanese and other Arab refugees from the torn areas of the Middle East, they came to the United States seeking advantage for themselves. And you know what? They looked around and found that we were providing no goods and services for our community. So here again, the Arab people now in the black community are nursing themselves to strength economically from the purchasing power of black people. Now we as a people feel that Jews, Arabs, and Asians who provide us with goods and services should respect us. In one sense, we are correct. However, in the deepest sense of the word, we have not done what earns respect. And if we want respect, we're just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. We're going to have to earn it. Now, the boat people have come. The people of Southeast Asia, the Koreans are in our community nursing from the black breast, and they're becoming politically strong. Since others have come to strength by serving our needs, and since we are an undernourished and powerless community, it makes a lot of sense to me that we should put ourselves on our own breast and make ourselves economically and politically strong. Now, in order to do this, we must make the $190 billion purchasing power of black people work for us. We have got to develop an economic movement which will provide a structure around which we spend more and more of our dollars with black professionals, black merchants, black manufacturers, black entrepreneurs. We must buy quality products and services that are purchased from and delivered to our home, products that are manufactured and distributed by black people. Now look, brothers and sisters, the products that we can provide for our people are endless if only we would unite and commit ourselves to such a program. Now, our spending habits are terrible. And since we do not have the trust of any one leader on a mass level to back that leader's program with the substance of our wealth, we must develop a solution to our economic problem coming from a different angle other than just a slogan saying, buy black. People will never buy black if they can get it cheaper from white. So, we must compete for the dollars that black people spend by producing products that are superior in quality and competitive in price. We must produce an atmosphere that will cause our people to spend their money with their own. But we've got to start like a farmer who recognizes that he cannot use up the total yield of his cornfield, but must save a portion of that corn to plant it again for another harvest. Now, how will we get the seed money to produce our needs? The Bible says, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. But the Bible also said that the Word became flesh and dwelled among men. This tells us that the Word has force and power, but the Word must become reality and dwell among the people. As leaders, we must not only conceptualize and talk about the suffering of our people, we must develop and put into practice principles that will alleviate the suffering of which we speak. I'm traveling across America today, calling black people to ranks. I am searching for 144,000 workers, 144,000 doers who will help me to reestablish black people to our former economic and commercial greatness, and by doing that, lay the basis for the establishment of a government of peace, the kingdom of God on earth. How many of you who are here today will help me to produce this economic movement for the rebirth of our people? Would you raise your hands up high? How many of you are willing to do that? Thank you. Now look, brothers and sisters, I'm not asking you to join a church. I'm not asking you to join a mosque or a temple or a synagogue. I'm asking you to join me in an endeavor that will liberate our people economically, politically, and spiritually. I'm asking you to join with me and others to become people who are organized and working for economic rebirth. This power is not a slogan or a proclamation. The structure of it I cannot reveal at this time, because there's nothing more that our enemies would be to have some way to kill this thing in its infancy. However, before the end of 1985, all black people in America and throughout the world will have a complete, full knowledge of power, and every black person in America will understand why we must become people organized and working for economic rebirth. The movement of power is designed, and the foundation has already been laid by some of the most brilliant minds among our people, past and present. This is not some vain ego trip of a handful of people. It is the working of Almighty God. So I ask you again, how many of you would be willing to help me in this work? Would you just raise your hands? Look at that. Just look at that. Okay, right now, power needs two things. Two things. First, we need to reach the mass of our people with this message. Second, we need money. Hold on. Now, we have designed a specific program that will accomplish both needs at the same time. How many of you remember the Iranian Revolution under Imam Khomeini? How many of you have heard about Imam Khomeini? You know what brought him to power? He came to power through a word spoken by the Imam, distributed on a cassette tape. Here again, Imam Khomeini proved that the word is more powerful than the force of arms, because the word carried an idea whose time had come, and the people rose up, and all the power of the Shah could not stop them. And it was done by means of a cassette tape. How many of you own or have access to a cassette player? Would you just raise your hands? Look at that. Practically everybody. Now look, brothers and sisters, the cassette tape is the only effective means whereby people out of power or control of major mass communication facilities can communicate a single unedited message to a target audience at some level of affordability. A cassette tape allows us to communicate to the masses of black people in a way that we can have control over the content and the timing of the message. And with the power of this word, we will develop black people into one mind, one body, one spirit. This represents a power that can't be stopped. That's what happened in Iran, and that's what's about to happen in America. Now, I don't want you to think that our objective is to overthrow the United States government. Our objective is to awaken the masses of the people to the applied principles of unity and self-reliance, which will produce economic rebirth. The second thing we need is money. We can't do anything in America without money, and that includes the work of God. I'm asking all of those who desire to help me create this economic movement to make a $10 contribution in exchange for this tape that you received when you came in. That's all I'm asking you to do. And then when you go from this auditorium tonight, I want you to call 5 people that you know. Tell them I was there. I heard Farrakhan. Look, man, there's a movement. We got to get down with it. Tell them that you want them to purchase this tape and give a $10 contribution. And with all of us doing this across the country, we create the seed money necessary to develop products to begin producing our own needs. Now, dear brothers and sisters, last year we spent nearly $4 billion for shampoo, toothpaste, hand and body lotion, mouthwash, powdered detergent, all-purpose cleaner, bleach, dishwashing detergent, liquid detergent, bar soap, insecticide, cooking oil, and a few other products. $4 billion. Do you mean that we don't have a chemist among us that we can make toothpaste, mouthwash, shampoo, hand and body lotion, powdered detergent, bar soap, insecticide? What's the matter with us that we can't provide the things that we consume? Of course we can. Last year, listen to me now, last year, do you know how much you spent for food and non-alcoholic beverages? We spent, listen to the figure, $44 billion on food and non-alcoholic beverages. Where's your beverage company? And why are the black farmers dying in America when we are eating all this food? Don't you realize, brothers and sisters, that the black farmers are dying and we are putting our lives in the hands of the merchants of death who place profit over the health of the people? Can't you see that you will never be a free people as long as your mouth is in the white man's kitchen and he's providing food for you? Hitler used ovens. You're too hip to go to an oven today on the pretext that you're having a shower. So the wise, diabolical enemy poisons you through your need for food with chemicals that you have no knowledge of how they act and react in your body. 30 years ago, black people hardly had anything called cancer. 30 years later, we are the #1 cancer victims in America. Do you think this is an accident? Fast food killing the black community. You are killing yourself with your teeth and making your enemy rich. Last year, and you see you're being poisoned by food, right? Last year, we spent, listen, $9 billion on alcoholic beverages. $9 billion. $4 more billion on tobacco. That's you, poor people. They want everybody to say how poor we are. $9 billion in alcohol, $4 billion in tobacco, and another $15 billion on reefer, cocaine, and other drugs. How in the world can we say to the world, respect me, protect me, when you are too ignorant to use your own wealth to defend and protect yourself? Now just suppose we produce some products that will capture some of this money and bring it back to us. Then we could produce the products that we consume, and we could capture some of the money through distributing the product directly to the consumer. And within 5 years, we could become a multi-billion-dollar corporate entity within America. That's not impossible. And with this kind of money, Notice I didn't say multi-million, I said multi-billion-dollar corporation. With this kind of money, we have to go immediately to the earth. We must purchase enough farmland that will allow us to give our people their daily bread, meat, fruit, and vegetables. We must buy timberland and clay land that will allow us to build our own homes. We must take the wool from the sheep, and we must grow cotton and pick cotton that we may turn it into lint and cloth, that we may produce clothing for ourselves. We must set up a national banking system where black people can bank their money in banks that serve black people. Are you listening? We, in setting up a banking institution, will enable us to back our black entrepreneurs and business people with loans, especially now since the government is cutting back on the Small Business Administration loans under the present administration. And by channeling our purchasing power back to ourselves, there will be no more need for us to cry out to the mass media and condemn them for not giving us a healthy image in their newspapers, in their television screens, and on their radios. With these billions of dollars redirected, we could establish a network of black-owned radio and television stations. We could send up our own satellite and give ourselves a healthy image here and around the world. With these billions of dollars redirected, no black college would have to close, and no black president of a college would have to demean himself by going to a state capitol with his hat in his hand, begging for some state funds to control the kind of education that black children are getting. With these billions redirected, we could take control of the education, and black people, we must take control of our education, for only when we control it can we produce students who will bring the benefit of their knowledge home to the black community, to the Indian community, to the African community, to develop our own raw materials. And so I say to you, beloved, by our unwillingness to do for ourselves, to develop an economic and political force among ourselves, we are actually contributing to America's death sentence. We believe that America suffers from spiritual bankruptcy, moral decline and decay, and her policies reflect this spiritual bankruptcy and moral decline. I, like Herbert W. Armstrong, Billy Graham, Jimmy Swaggart, Oral Roberts, Jerry Falwell, and other white evangelists, see a very dark day coming for America if America does not heed the call to return to sound moral and spiritual principles. And if America refuses to accept good spiritual advice and continues with her bankrupt policies, then America will lead herself to further ruin, creating further insecurity, deepening her political and economic fall. The whole of Western civilization is in crisis. It is dying a natural death because the natural force of life is wearing away the logic upon which the Western world rests. No nation needs to lift a hand against her, for she's destroying herself by a natural process of decay. So in our liberation efforts, we the black, we the Indians, must see ourselves in the global context of our strategic significance to America and the world. Listen carefully. We must give our expertise to Africa to help develop the raw materials of Africa. And Africa must give the strength of her development to the development of black people in America. Through this power program, we want to call all black intellectuals, technicians, masters of technology of every kind, and we will set up a skills bank. And we will ask our African brothers and